Hey, everybody. Welcome back to What the Helvetica. I am here with Kady Sandel, my friend who is a creative entrepreneur and an educator. So we overlap a lot in kind of career experience. We're doing similar things. You're still doing creative work. We're going to dig into all of it. We're going to dig into going from $65 logos to $20,000 branding packages and things, $10,000, the 5-figure projects. We're going to dig into that. And who knows what else we'll dig into. So stay tuned.
Join Mike, Janda, and guests to discuss the things that make creative people say, "What the hell, Helvetica?"
Kady, good to have you on the show. We did an episode on your podcast, the Profitable Graphic Designer podcast, a few months ago. But we haven't really talked. We've exchanged DMs, but we haven't really talked since then.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me on the show. And I can't wait to talk more about the business side of being a freelance graphic designer or running a design agency.
Yeah. Okay, so let's dig in from the start. We were just talking a minute ago, and Kady's husband's last name is Sandel.
Yes.
But Kady is Kady Sandel. Kady
Yes.
Sandel. I love this because it's like branding. I talked with Reagan Mackreel, who is G'day Frank. I don't know if you know G'day
Yes.
Frank. Yeah, so he's so great. I love him. We've been friends for a lot of years. And we were talking about that, how he's taken on this persona of Frank, and a lot of people call him Frank because that's the name in his brand. There's something interesting about branding yourself, and you chose that Kady Sandel or Sandel was not. What was wrong with that for you, and why do you go Kady Sandel?
Okay, well, let me first tell you one more secret. My name is not Kady.
Okay, tell me the secret. I like it. Okay, good. This is even better. It's even better.
Yes, so my real name is Ksenia.
Okay.
Yes,
K-E-S-N-I.
no.
No? It's not even that?
K-S? No, it's K-S-E-N-I-J-A.
I-J-A.
Yes.
Wow.
And
Okay.
so it's very hard for everyone here in the States to say Ksenia. And especially when it's written, they're like, oh, Senija. I'm like, well, kind of. Like every time when I go to a doctor, it's like they say something and I'm like, I guess it's me. Like I have no idea.
Oh, yeah.
And actually, that's where it started from, because I was building this business as a freelance designer. And I was like, every time when I say Ksenia, people cannot remember it. They can't find me online. They can't do anything with it. So I was like, well, okay, how do I come up with a name that I would like? And then there was some TV show. I found Kady. And I was like, oh, I really like Kady. I love the spelling. It's so unusual because it's K-A-D-Y. So I'll just go with Kady. And then as I'm married to an American and his last name is Sandel, his family says Sandel. But every time, again, when I would go to a doctor, they would read it Sandel. And I was like, oh, that sounds so Italian. So I'll go with that. I'll be Kady Sandel. So I'm from Ksenia Sandel. I'm Kady Sandel. I just love it.
How long has that been going on in your life, this rebrand of your name?
So I got married 9 years ago, and I changed my first name. I didn't officially change it, but it's only like in my passport and ID. I changed it like maybe 5-6 years ago when I realized that it's hard for my clients to remember me. So I had to figure out like how to do it. And at first I didn't want to do it because it's my name, but then at the same time, it really doesn't matter. You know, it's just a name.
Yeah. I saw a thing yesterday because the new Beetlejuice movie is coming out this weekend, Michael Keaton. And Michael Keaton isn't his real name. His real name is Michael Douglas. But there was already Michael Douglas. Yeah, Michael Douglas was already for the Michael Douglas that we know from the movies from the past 40 years.
So
he chose Michael Keaton. Because something in like the Screen Actors Guild or something, if somebody has a certain name, you're not allowed to use that name. So he had to change his last name for that. But he wants to start going back to Michael Douglas Keaton, is what I read. He's like, I lost my whole identity somewhere in the last 40 years of my career. Do you think you'll
Yeah,
ever feel
yeah.
that way? Like when everybody's like, Kady, 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 and you're like, I
No,
changed my
I feel
name.
like I'm Kady now.
You are.
Like
Yeah.
everybody calls me Kady. My husband would still sometimes say Xenia, and some
Yeah.
close friends, but not very often. And I just feel like I can change it again.
Okay,
I
so
don't have that like attachment. I don't know.
yeah. Where are you from originally? I know we talked about this on your pod, but where's it?
Yeah, I'm from Serbia.
Serbia. Okay.
Yes.
And how did you end up in Austin, Texas as a designer, growing an agency, doing what you're doing now? I know that's like a
Yeah.
gigantic question. So let's just go from the Serbia to the United States, Texas version.
Yeah, of course.
For now.
So basically, I started my design career when I was 15 because in Serbia, we don't have just like a high school. It's a specialized high school. So that's when I decided to like kind of move forward with being a graphic designer. Even like prior to that, I was always saying to my mom, I want to make a billboard. And she was like, what? You want to be a construction worker? Like, what do you mean by making a billboard? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So we figured out that that's graphic design. So I started graphic design school there, which is for 4 years. And then after that, I finished the Academy of Arts for graphic design as well. And then right after that, I got this opportunity to go to either Las Vegas or North Dakota for 5 months. It's kind of like a work and travel visa where for 4 months you get work visa and then fifth month is a travel visa. So I was able to choose between those two locations. So of course I chose Las Vegas.
Yeah.
And so I went
That's a
to
good choice.
Vegas.
That's a
Yeah,
big
exactly.
choice. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I went to Vegas for those 4 months. And then after that, my fifth month, I traveled. I went to LA, New York, like the famous destinations as a tourist.
Yeah.
Then I went
Yeah.
back and then I realized, well, there has to be something bigger. Like I really like being there. I want to see what else is out there because I feel like I didn't spend enough time on this, like the whole continent to figure out if this is something I would like to do, if I want to pursue my career here or what like the next can be for me. So I went back to Serbia and then the next year I applied for the same type of visa. But this time I got a job, which was as a cashier. So it's not a fancy job. It's kind of like, it's not a design job. It's something like selling or whatever. And so I got that job in Maryland, Ocean City. So I was there for 4 months, but still I was kind of like freelancing on the side. I was trying to build my website, but at that time we didn't have all these like platforms like Show It and build a website in a day and all of that. So I didn't know anything. Long story short, after those 4 months in Ocean City, I went back to Las Vegas because I already had friends there. And then I applied for visa extension. I stayed there. And my second week in Vegas, I met now my husband. So it wasn't really a plan 100% like, oh, I'm staying and whatnot. And I also then got a job in one science and printing company as a graphic designer, still trying to work on the side, building my website, started getting clients, and it kind of like took off from there. And then my husband used to live in Denver at that time. So I moved, so I quit my job in that science and printing company.
Was he in Vegas? Sorry for interrupting. Was he in Vegas just for like a party weekend or something? Or what was the deal?
He was, so he's in oil and gas. And there was a conference that he was a part of. But I met him in a casino because I was selling balance bracelets. One of those like kiosks where you stop people to sell them something.
Yes.
So I stopped him selling him something. And he was like, of course, he's not going to buy that. He's like, no, like, what is a balance bracelet? And so we started talking and I was closing my kiosk. It was like the last 5 minutes of me working. So I was closing the kiosk and he was still there. And so he lost his brother. He couldn't find his brother. And so we just like started talking. We connected. We went out the next day and things like that. So he was basically a tourist in Vegas and that's how we met. And then we were doing like this relationship. And then when I quit my job in science and printing company, which I got after I was working in that casino, then I moved to Denver because that's where he used to live. That's where his job was. But I never liked Denver. And I know a lot of people will hate me now because everybody loves Denver. But I was just so frozen. Probably like moving from Vegas to Denver. I just didn't like it. And so then I met someone who told me that Houston is the best city in the world. So I said to Brandon,
Who says this? Houston is the best city in the world.
I don't know. So I said to Brandon, I think we're moving to Houston. And he was like, no, we're not moving to Houston. Like, I'm not going to Houston.
Yeah.
Especially like he's in oil and gas. So he knows, like he goes there, like he was going there often and whatnot. And then he suggested, how about we go and check out Austin? And so I came here actually by myself for like 5 days. And I think my second day, I was like, I love it. I love the people, love the food, love the, like this business entrepreneurial culture, which now has grown to the levels where now we have even like Tesla and Facebook and Google. And it's like
crazy.
Austin has grown so much since then. But and I just love the weather.
That is awesome. Houston is the best city in the world, says who? Like, I've never heard that ever. I think the people even in Houston would agree that it's not the best city in the entire world.
It's so humid now that I live close to it. Like, I know.
Yeah, it's hot and humid, both. It's both of those. I've been to Houston a couple times. But it is good. It's close enough to the ocean, which, the Gulf, which I always like being close to the water.
Yes.
Okay, well, that's interesting. So, and you've been in Austin now for how long? 5-6 years or something? Is
Since
that what
2017.
Okay, so 7 years.
Yes.
Going right now.
And I know that it's since 2017 because that was my first month where I made $10,000 as a freelancer. So that's how I keep a track of it.
It was? What was your first month as 10 grand as a freelancer?
January 2017.
Oh, that's great. So, and when did you start officially freelancing? Like because you gave us the whole love story, green card version of your life, but where was where did the business part start to be the priority for you?
Yes. So when I was in Maryland, in Ocean City, I knew that I wanted to be a graphic designer. I did have this diploma, but as we all know, when you finish college, you still don't know what you're doing, right? Like you just get that diploma and you have no idea. Like you don't know anything about business. You're kind of okay designer, but all student work is like not so great. And it's like everything and anything, right? It's like from theater posters to logo designs for like whatever. And so, but long story short, I was really trying to build my portfolio and my website. And I had a friend who was kind of web developer. So he's going to help me build a website. And when I moved to Vegas, I was talking to like whoever I would talk to, I would just say, I'm a freelance designer. I'm a freelance designer. So I would get some projects here and there, like flyers and brochures for like $40, and I would spend hours working on it. It's like $2 per hour. But just something, just so I get, out there and meet people and have something for my portfolio that I can actually use. And these were all real clients. And so I had to build that experience. But I would say like 9 years ago when I was in Vegas was when I really started. However, I had a full-time job and I was working 8 to 5. So I would be at home around 6. And then I would start working on my projects. And then I would start working on marketing. And Instagram wasn't the thing at the time. So I was just like looking online, Googling how to become a freelance designer, how to find clients, how much I should charge, all the most common questions that designers have. And when I moved to Denver, I discovered meetup.com. And that's when I realized, I can go to these events and meet business owners and offer my services or, just connect with them. Maybe they know someone who I would need. So my part-time, I call it a job, was going to networking events because I was going 3 to 5 different networking events a week, just trying to get clients. It was a lot of events, but I didn't have many clients. I didn't have projects. So that was the only thing I was able to do. So I was just going to events, meeting people, and then Referral started getting in, and that was all 2016.
Yeah. Okay. I love what you just highlighted there. And I know you teach designers now. You have your educational side of your business. So you know the importance of this, and I'm sure you share it all the time, but you were going to how many networking events each week?
3 to 5. That was my goal. 3 was the minimum.
every week.
Week.
And this is what so many creatives are like. They fear that, and so they don't do it. And so their career or their creative business just kind of stalls out and spins, and it's just hoping for the next phone call to come in, the next email to come in. Oh, hopefully. But you got to go and do something like you did. So 3 to 5 networking events per week. And what happened in yours? How did this transition you from what you were saying, $40 flyers into bigger projects? What was the flow of that? Because now you're doing projects. You did your first $10,000 month in January, which isn't too far after when you started. Like, was it a couple years, a year and a half or so probably?
But let me tell you a crazy story, because at that time, even when I hit 10K, I was still charging $480 for a logo design. So you can only imagine how my life looked like hitting the 10K, and kind of where everything would look like, oh, I made it. I didn't have life. Yeah. I was sleeping like 4 hours because I couldn't afford to sleep more. I was working nonstop. Now, when I look into that, I had like about 20 clients that month. I'm like, how did I do that? But on the other
so
side,
much of that. When I look back, I'm like, why was I so dumb? That's what I think. Why was I so stupid? Not charging enough, so I didn't have the cash flow to hire people. And then I was just working myself to death. And I did that. I did it for a couple years before I finally was like, this has got to stop. And I hired my first person. And then a year later, I had 6 employees and office space, because once I pulled the thread of hiring, it was like, oh, now I get it.
Yeah.
So anyway.
I mean, so I was going to these networking events and still charging. Like sometimes a logo would be like 240, sometimes 480, but that's like for people that I would meet in person, because I felt like I have to be on a higher end, which I thought at that time that's the higher
end. $480, the higher end. For some people,
design.
It still is. And we're trying to break you of that mindset right now if you have it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was also on Craigslist. And I think that's actually what slowed me down in my growth. And even though I did have like a nice growth, it was just a year and a few months where I was able to hit 10K and whatever, but it's because I was going to networking events and meeting business owners and whatnot. But at that time, I was going to Craigslist, and I would post on Craigslist logo design, cheap services, website design, and then I would like talk to web designers and things like that. I was just like trying to make some money, because I realized that I don't want to go back to working 8 to 5 or 9 to 5. I really wanted to have that flexibility where I can travel, I can work from home or anywhere in the world. Like I really needed that like lifestyle business that I wanted to have. And now when I look into that, I still have it, but in a different way, because now I have family. So now I can work only a few hours a day because of the baby and whatever. But I'm so glad I did it at that time. And so on Craigslist, people post logo design, $45. Logo design, $80. So I was trying to be somewhere in between. And that's how I came up with this price, logo design for $65. And I was doing that for so many months in parallel, going to these events and trying to make it work. And then I was secretly always looking for a job, because I'm like, it's not working. And then I would literally Google and secretly building my resume. And then at some point I was like, you know what? I'm going to delete this resume thing, like this Photoshop file. I was building it in Photoshop. I was like, I'm going to delete it because as a designer, that's how you think, right?
I know, that's such a sign though of your level of design at the time. Was opening Photoshop to design her resume.
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
Exactly.
That's funny. And You've come a long way, Kady. You've come a long way.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so when I deleted that resume, I made that decision. I have to make it work. I'll figure it out. I'll do it. And then as you go to all these events and meet other business owners, you start hearing different prices, different offers, different sales strategies, like different things that finally, at some point after a year, it clicks. Like there was this one guy who I remember said that his website, that he's charging like the starting point is $10,000 for a website design. I was charging $550 for a website. And so I was like, oh, he probably has these like big projects. It's probably like 50-page website for a large hospital in Orlando, or like, I don't know what I was thinking. You know, I thought it's like a huge, like he's building Apple's website. And so, you know, you quickly, when you're surrounded by business owners and entrepreneurs, you quickly realize that what you're doing is either correct or not correct. Like it's not going in the right direction. So I quickly, you know, started picking those things up and started raising my rates. And then I heard like, oh, double your rates. And I was so afraid to go from those like 240 to 480 and then 480 to 960. And so as we mentioned, like in January 2017, when I hit 10K, the next month I made like 300. Because I was in that feast and famine. I couldn't keep it going because I was working nonstop. So I didn't have the time for marketing. And then
you didn't go to 3 to 5 networking events per week when you were working nonstop on production work.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, it was, I feel like most designers, most freelancers go through that, like feast and famine. Like you're either in a marketing, like, oh, I need clients. And then you get clients and then you don't do anything marketing wise.
And I talk about that all the time. I have like a bunch of posts about this problem because it's exactly what you said. When you're busy, you don't sell. And then the next wave comes and you don't have any leads or projects because you didn't sell. And so now you panic sell, which means, oh no, I don't have work. I better go to 3 to 5 meetups per week. And then that generates leads. And now you're busy again and you don't sell. Then you panic sell. Then you don't sell. Then you panic sell. And the key to this, my advice to people on this and people who have followed my content or my community, I say this all the time. You got to do sales every day, no matter what, busy or not, and something relating to sales. And it can be as simple as emailing a past client just to check in on them. You're busy,
asking for a testimonial, you're working, just that.
Yeah, you're 12 hours a day and you just email the client, take the 15 seconds and email the client and say, hey, I was just thinking about you and our project last year. Hope you're doing well. I loved working with you. If you have anything else coming, I'd love to work on it. That's the email. It took you 15 seconds to do it, but you're not doing it because you're so busy producing the pixels that you forget that that's a priority. If you're not doing just that one little thing per day, pick something every day that relates to sales, it can flatten this feast and famine curve that everybody has, this roller coaster.
Exactly. And also, if you didn't have a lot of clients that you can reach out to, maybe someone is like in the first 1 to 3 years in business and had like 10, 15 clients or so. Go to LinkedIn and connect with 2 people a day. Just that. 2 new people a day, reach out, tell them something good about their website, about their product, like whatever it is. Start building that relationship.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, LinkedIn's so great because it didn't exist when I was building my agency. We didn't have that platform, but it's so easy. You can go to somebody's profile and see something that they post, and then you can comment on it and say, oh, I love this post. That's so great. Thanks for sharing. That's your sales thing that you can check the box off that day.
Definitely.
And then somebody else and look at their website or look at their marketing or look at find somebody at a brand that you admire and send them a little DM in LinkedIn that says, hey, I just wanted you to know, I love your company. I love your brand. It's like my favorite brand of all time. Just wanted to give you a little shout out. You're the marketing director there, so I know you have your hands in all of that. Just wanted to give you a little shout out. It's so great. I love it. And that's your sales thing. That's your sales thing for the day. And if you do that 365 days per year, you're going to have some kind of return on that investment of time. And that investment of time isn't even all that much.
Yes, it's like a networking, but online. These days, we don't have to go in person. You can network with people on LinkedIn. I always say it like it's online networking. And groups are online networking events. And you get to connect with people. And it's amazing because you don't have to drive anywhere. Even though I do love going to networking events, I am a little bit different than most creatives. I am extrovert and I have to be around people. So I just like love being around people. And most of the time I actually work alone in my office, but networking events are these days almost like my hobby. I go to only like 2 a month, and I don't even look for clients anymore. I just like go to talk to people. But like I feel like LinkedIn is really amazing for creative entrepreneurs. And I think that a lot of designers are so focused on Pinterest or Instagram because it's like all these platforms are like visually appealing and LinkedIn is not. It's boring, right? So designers naturally don't go there and they're missing out on so many opportunities.
Yeah, they are. But you can do it in Instagram too.
Yes.
And you and I don't know that we've ever messaged through LinkedIn, but we do on Instagram. That's where, so the communication can happen. And I built my whole community on Instagram in the DMs of Instagram. So a lot of people have created relationships with me, and I've created relationships with people like you and G'day Frank, who we just mentioned.
But that's because we're all creatives, so we're all on Instagram. But if you're looking for a client, I still feel that LinkedIn is better.
I do. I agree. If you're looking for the client who is the entrepreneur of their business, but on Instagram, you build an audience of creatives, and how many of them are working at some agency or in-house art department, design department. They're working there. And so you're still just 1 degree removed. If you build a great relationship with Joe, and Joe is a designer who lands a job at Facebook on their design team, you are 1 relationship away from getting freelance work from Facebook because of your relationship with Joe. So you just never know. I think there's value in building those relationships, even on a more design-centric platform. These people aren't always going to be your competitors. A lot of times they can be your future client, or they can be your future employee, or you can be their future contractor or their future employee. You just never know. No relationship effort is wasted.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, some of my contractors are coming either from like Facebook groups or Instagram comments. For example, there was this one girl that left a comment on someone else's design work, and I clicked on that profile and I'm like, oh, I like your work. I actually have a project for you. So I hired creatives from Instagram. But if I was to look for a client, I would probably go to LinkedIn and type in like CEO, skincare line, manager, creative director, skincare line, or whatever my niche is, right? And then I would start building relationships like that directly with them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. We did this. We did work for Google, and our Google vendorship came from, I had done a lot of work for ABC Family, and one of the contacts at ABC Family started working at YouTube, gave us some projects, and in order to do work for him at YouTube, we became a Google vendor. So we had to do all the Google paperwork and all this stuff and get in Google's system so that Google could pay us for the YouTube work. What did we do next? We tried to build a relationship with every marketing manager at Google that we could find. And if you type in marketing manager Google on LinkedIn, you will find a ton of them. And because we were a Google vendor, we could message them and say, hey, we just finished a project for so-and-so. We're a Google agency. We would love to meet you. We're going to be in Mountain View next week. Could we get 15 minutes of your time just to introduce ourselves? And we would stack meetings doing that. We turned Google into $1 million a year client off of that approach. So you have this access to people that you never had access to before. You can just search and
you just
find them.
Search for them by title.
Yeah. Marketing manager, marketing director, creative director, art director, project manager, production manager. Like, these are some of the titles that you can just go and start searching. Marketing coordinator, account manager.
You start typing and then LinkedIn will even suggest. So you will get even like suggestions. And also just go to ChatGPT and ask, who do I need to connect with in order to get here or there? I mean, there's so many options.
Is your new virtual admin.
Yes.
That's what you're saying. Okay, so let's talk about doing this the right way, because if you're just that person that's just spamming, like I get them all the time. I get them because they want to be an appointment setter for me, which I don't need.
Yeah.
They want to be a short form video editor for me, which I don't need. They want to be a YouTube editor, YouTube thumbnail designer. I get these, and there's no their sales approach is just the same spammy message that I get from 3 other people on the same day.
Because they have
every
that
day.
quantity approach. So they're reaching out to many, many people.
Yes.
So I always feel like there are 2 different approaches. Like one is quantity,
Good. Teach
and you
this,
can
because I totally agree. Yes, teach this.
So
Yeah.
this is all about quantity, and you can go to Fiverr or Upwork and hire someone for $5 an hour who's going to give you a list of thousands of potential clients, and then you send them that DM and you lose them all. Maybe you get one in 1,000. But you can also be very strategic about it and find 5 people a day, like 2 to 5 people a day. It doesn't have to be this huge number, and go to their website. So what I was doing, even just a few years ago, I would go, it was 2020, and it was the skincare line or skincare like industry that I wanted to kind of like break into, because I started getting clients in skincare and whatnot. And so I would go on LinkedIn and find a person, like a CEO or business owner, like small business owner. I would find their website. I would go and look into their products. I would look into their ingredients. Listen to this. I would literally look into the ingredients of their products. And then if I find something that I really like some kind of oil or something, and I would reach out, hey, I just saw this product that you have on your website. Like, I love your product. I really like how this product has this ingredient. Yeah. And it's so specific, and it takes 2 minutes, maybe. Yeah. And then you start building that relationship. And then they would reach out. They would always respond, like almost always. They would respond, oh, thank you so much for reaching out, like whatever. And then 2 weeks later, I'm like, hey, I saw this business in Target. Have you ever tried being in Target? Like, is that your goal? And you start building that business relationship. Yes, it started from a single ingredient of a single product, but you start building that relationship. And I even have some people who I became friends with. They never became my client because they already had someone working with, or what, it really doesn't matter. But we became really close friends, and it ended up that they live here in Austin, and they go to CPG, which is Consumer Packaged Good events, and they introduced me to someone else who then became my client. So it's all about building that relationship, and it doesn't have to always be in person. It can be through LinkedIn as well.
Okay, so how do you do it in a way that they don't feel like you're just working them so that they become a client someday?
Well, just like that, we start talking about products. And I feel like when you have your niche, which now I do, I am so passionate about my niche. And I think that's the other thing that I wanted to mention, because we talked about me charging $200 and $480 for, a logo. And so what helped me actually charge those $10,000, $20,000 and whatnot is by having my specialization, having my niche. So now that I have it and I love my niche, I'm really passionate about just talking about it, talking about products, talking about packaging design. And sometimes I even connect with people not even thinking, oh, maybe they'll be my client. No, I'm like, I really love their packaging, and I just reach out. So I already see that they have something that's good. And so they already have a designer. They will not need me. Or, we don't know the strategy behind, right? Like, maybe they will one day need to rebrand or whatnot. But they are in the same industry. They know the events. They know other business owners that are in the same industry. And so it's basically, you're just talking. It's almost like my hobby.
Yeah. I think that's the key. It is. So my original question on that was, how do you do it in a way that they don't feel like you're working them to try and turn them into a client? And the answer is, don't work them. Don't work them. Don't try and become a client. Don't try and turn them into a client. Don't have an ulterior motive. Just be you, be genuinely interested in the same thing they're interested in the industry they work in, which could be your niche in your business or one of the niches that you try and do. But don't work them. Just do it with the intention of building a new relationship, because your life is richer with more quality relationships in it, whether they turn into your client or not. And I have so many of those, so many people that I built relationships with and I keep in touch with all the time.
And I bet that nobody reached out. Yeah. And I bet like nobody reached out like, hey, do you want to buy this? No. Like don't try to sell. You can sell without selling, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it's a relationship game. The whole thing is about trying to understand in your sales strategy, how many people do you have to drop into the top of the funnel to drip out clients out of the bottom of the funnel? That's the question you have. And the people who are spamming the 10,000 email list that they bought somewhere, and I get them, and there's no relationship, those people have to drop 10,000, 20,000 people into the top of their funnel to drip client or two out of the bottom. But with your approach, you can put 100 people into the top of your funnel that you nurture genuine relationships with no intention of working them, trying to turn them, convert them to a client or whatever. You can put 100 people into it and it probably drips out 2, 4, 5, 6, 10 clients out of the bottom over time, but you're nurturing 100 real relationships. And so there's two approaches to this. And when you see companies like Nike puts millions, if not billions, like they put 3 billion people into the top of their funnel so that it drips out a certain quantity of purchases out of the bottom. So you can do this at scale like that, or you can do it in a more micro relationship style, like what Kady's talking about. And that's the approach I did too. Kady was the same thing. It was just like, go meet my clients, be their friend. If they give me work, great. If they don't, was a fun lunch going to lunch with them.
Yeah, and the other thing that works really well for someone who is looking for clients is connecting with referral partners. And so referral partners are people that offer different services to the same target audience. So now that I work with a lot of CPG, like product-based businesses, I connect with a lot of photographers and videographers. And they send me clients, and I send them my clients as well. Because as soon as I am done with branding aspect, we don't do marketing. I don't do ads. I don't do product photography. Like I can go to a studio because now I have these relationships. So I actually do sometimes go as a creative director to a studio where they do the shoot, and I'm there to direct them what we need to have on the website and things like that. But it just connect with those referral partners and you will start getting clients like that if you don't like talking directly to clients.
Okay, I love this too. So again, it's about relationships and building tangential relationships with people that offer tangent services to you. What is your approach to reaching out to those people? What's the message? How do you do that?
With them, I'm more direct. We have the same goal, right? We want more clients or better clients or whatnot. So I reach out like, hey, I see that we're in the same industry. Maybe we should connect. We have the same target audience. And it's just literally like that because we have the same goal. They want to have more clients. I want to have more clients. Yep. And then it is a direct message. But it's also like Can
you give us off the cuff? Give us off the cuff what that message says. What does that message say when you reach out to that person?
Literally just that, like, especially now that I would reach out to a lot of people who do ads, like Amazon ads, for example, because they all work with product-based businesses and many products have awful branding visually, like it's so bad. And so when they're trying to promote their client, they're not making sales, they're not getting to those results. And so I would reach out to Amazon ad specialists and tell them like, hi. And it's usually on LinkedIn. So I don't really have to say my name is Kady because they can see that. So I'm like, hey, I'm a brand strategist and designer. I have an agency in Austin. It looks like we have the same target audience. Are you interested in connecting? Are you looking for more clients?
Yeah.
It's just very short. It's like a note. It's not even like email, like the full message that you can have at LinkedIn Premium. It's just like that little note. And most of the time they're like, oh, yeah, so who's your target audience, and then we start talking about clients, and you build that relationship. And I have many friends, like true friends, that because we have the same target audience, and we always talk about pricing and about offers and about clients, and we complain a lot, all those things. So it's amazing.
Yeah. I love that too. So that's the approach that can be more direct. You don't have to nurture the photographer for 10 months and be all interested in their business and compliment them and all the stuff that you would do to try and build a relationship with just somebody who's not necessarily a tangent service provider. You can be direct
because you're not selling
that.
Anything. Yeah.
Yeah. And I recommend to people that they do it this way too, is that they make the offer of what you want to give them. So you're a brand designer. You can say, hey, I have clients sometimes. I'm a brand designer, packaging designer. I have clients sometimes that come to me and need photography, and I see that you do packaging photography for advertising. That's a great fit for me and my clients. Can we get on a Zoom call, or can we go to coffee if they're local or whatever? You're messaging them, offering them client. What person, I mean, that's what half these people are praying for in the morning. They're like, get up in the morning, roll on their knees, and they're like, please let some clients drop out of the sky for me today. And if you're the one that sends them that DM that says, I want to give you clients, the natural response from those people is going to be, thank goodness, I was hoping for a message like this today. And then the natural reaction from them would be, oh, that's great. I'd love to meet you because I don't do branding and packaging design. I just do photography, and I have clients that could need your services. And so you just create that synergistic relationship.
Yeah. And I feel like designers always think, especially like in this case, when it's like product-based business, at least that's how I thought in the past. Well, branding comes, or visual identity and packaging design comes before photography. So how are they going to send me clients? They will not. But they actually send me a ton of clients because clients would think, oh, I just need better photography, or I need better website, or I need better something. And then they go to these people, and the photographer is like, no, I'm not taking photos of this. You have to rebrand or redesign, and they just send people. Or they're like, okay, we can do that, but how about you talk with Kady with Aventive Studio, and then see if she can help you with something else, and then we can take photos of your products.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. You just never know. And it can be with the website partner, the exact same thing. Somebody says, hey, I need to overhaul my website for this product. And then they're like, you know what? You really need to overhaul your brand totally before we do the website. Let's talk to Kady.
Yeah.
And so they bring you in. It's that kind of thing. And then what you don't know too is every relationship that you make unlocks a path to the relationships that person has. So the photographer friend who you make with just wanting to give them clients because your clients need their services, that unlocks your access to their ads person that's their buddy, their website friend who is whatever. You unlock this whole new little micro network of people that you gain access to, which I think is something valuable as well that we don't often see. The photographer themselves may never give you work, but their friend John does.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all again about how many people are we putting into the top of the funnel. And when you put John in the top of your funnel, John sometimes drags a couple people into the funnel with him because it's his best friend and his coworker and his sister who he talks to and are all in the same industry, and they find out about you too.
Yeah, and you never know who knows who. There are many people that know many people. So it's just, it all goes back to building that relationship with people.
Yeah. There was a phrase, and I loved this. This was a networking group that I belonged to when I was building my agency, and they called it relationship arrogance. When we make an assumption that some relationship has no value to me. I don't need that relationship. That's just the front desk person. I don't need to I don't need to be nice to them. That's relationship arrogance. What you don't know is that the front desk person is married to the CEO of some big company, and that relationship that you build with that person turns into a great, big, huge client win for you. You don't know that. And so you have to assume that everybody that you interact with has somebody in their network of close friends who will be a potential new friend to you, new client to you, new employee to you. You just don't know. So you don't burn any bridges anywhere. Be nice to everyone and see what happens. See what happens. And
if I get mean comments on Instagram, I block them and I'm mean.
I don't block them. I got some a few days ago. I don't block them. I just restrict them. There's a new thing you can restrict to people. So like, you know what? Restrict them. That means my feed, my posts aren't going to get sent to them. If they DM me, it goes into my request bin and not directly into my bin. That kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying because I got one of the mean DMs, so it wasn't even a comment. It was a DM like, oh, you're selling these online courses for designers building their business, but you don't have your own business. I'm like, you don't even know. You're just like assuming, and you're reaching out. You're wasting your time, and you're wasting my time. I'll just block you.
Yeah. Did you reply, or did you just block them?
No, I replied.
You did?
Yes. Yeah. But also, I don't want to reply because it's like wasting of my time. But it was like 8 p.m. and I was on the couch and I'm like, no, I'll just be mean back and then I'll block you.
Yeah, I reply sometimes. I didn't reply to a couple the other day. I just deleted them and restricted them because I was tired when I got their message. I was like, forget that. But a lot of them I'll reply because I'm like, you can't. If you say something to me that you wouldn't say to my face, then I'm going to probably say something back to you. Like if you're cordial enough and that's most of these hatery people, they're saying something that they would never say to you
There's
in person.
No way, no.
There's no way. And
no, if I was to meet this person that sent me that mean message, he would probably be like, oh, that's amazing that you were able to build your agency that allows you to have the free time to now help designers grow their business. Yeah. I feel like that's exactly what he would have said, like if we met in person. But since it's a DM, it's like totally different.
You say whatever you want.
Exactly.
Yeah, freaking dirtbag. I hate that. Makes me so mad. It makes me so mad. I'm like the nicest person in my outward persona, but there's like this Hulk rage inside me sometimes when I hear about stuff like that. It just makes me so mad. I'm so mad about that. Oh, it's so frustrating. And the reason, Kady, is because you're nice. And I'm like, well, how dare anybody say something bad and mean about her? Because she's a nice person. She gives a lot of value to other people. You donate your time to conferences like the one we did last week that we speak at. You're donating, you're contributing, you're creating content, you're giving value. And so you have to monetize that time in some way through courses and coaching and your program and stuff. You're going to monetize some of it, but it's business. And some people think that you should just give away all your stuff for free. Well, what about all those freaking years that you were like crying on January?
You know what's the worst to me? When someone asks me, can I pick your brain? I'm like, no. I don't have time for it.
You can schedule a coaching call with me.
Exactly.
Here. Yeah. I reply to the questions. And that's something that I've always tried to do too. If somebody messages me, and they're like, hey, can I get your thought on this? And I'll reply to them. If it's something big, like, how do I find clients? And I'm like, here, watch these 3 videos and I'll go find my videos for them and I'll paste them into the message and send it back. And I'm like, okay, do some homework here. You can watch my hour-long video that I teach how to find clients. You can listen to my 3 podcast episodes about finding clients. You can listen to those. I'm not just going to give you a spoon-fed answer when I've already given that content. So I'll do that sometimes. And then sometimes I'll say, that's a great topic. I'm going to add that to my list of future content. It's too big to answer in a DM, but I'm just going to put it on my list. And I'll do a podcast episode about it someday. I'll do a YouTube video someday. I might write an article someday. but it's on my list. And I genuinely have that list. What those people don't know is that my list has like 1,500 or something things on it. Literally, I have a folder in my notes app that has 1,500 and something notes, which are all just different topic ideas that I've collected over the years.
Yeah, but now that we're talking about it, I feel like a lot of designers are afraid of putting out their creative work because they feel that they will be judged and that others will tell them they're not good enough. So then it's building the whole like imposter syndrome and insecurities and whatnot. So, but at the end of the day, it's just social media. Like we always post only the highlights. I never posted myself crying in that January. I just posted how much money I made, but I didn't post how I made it.
Hey, I made $10,000.
And I'm crying on my balcony.
You didn't post any pictures because your hair was a mess. You hadn't showered for 6 days.
Exactly.
You cried all night. But
so I feel like we just have to remember that everything we see on social media is like highlight reel.
Yeah. Yeah. So to those people that are listening to this and you're afraid to post your work, post your freaking work. Post what you're doing. And if you're worried and insecure about it, send it to me and say, Mike, do you like this? And I promise I will tell you that you're doing great. Keep going, because we all start somewhere. And my work from 25 years ago just sucked. You should see, and I've never seen them, but I'll just answer for Kady. You should see some of the logos she did for $40 back in the day. They sucked. God. I guarantee they sucked. I guarantee.
It's like, as soon as it's a real estate, I put a roof on top.
Yes, that's what it is. Yeah, so creative. Everybody sucks at some point. Everybody sucks. I look at some of my old work and I'm like, how in the world did I ever think that this was good?
Yeah, I mean, even now when I'm looking at those clients that paid me even $65, I'm like, you wasted your $65.
Yeah, there is some of that,
it's really bad. It shouldn't be even 65, but we all start from somewhere.
We do. Well, this has been super fun. Like I told you when we started, before we turned this on, I was like, Kady, I don't know what we end up talking about here. We started down her career path, but got onto some really good nuggets of sales and sales mindset, which I think is super, super important and can't be talked about enough to the creative world. And then I like what you brought up about haters, because that's been touchy for me this week, because I had some a few days ago. So I'm like, I'm riled up about that.
Yeah.
What do you have, Kady, for a kind of closing? Give us your 3 best tips in these micro sentence things. Like you want somebody to go from a Craigslist logo designer to being a 5-figure per month designer on the norm. What are your 3 best tips for them?
I'll start with one, and that is positioning. So positioning yourself as the best possible option for your ideal client. It sounds really fancy, but it's actually not. It's just you figuring out who you want to be your ideal client, and then working on your messaging and portfolio to match that, and then having your signature offer that's going to align with their needs. So that's kind of like 3 things. But, many designers still offer a logo design and color palette and 2 rounds of revisions and this and that. No, they should offer a solution for their problem. I'll help you attract more customers or clients or make more sales when you have, and then this offer that can be brand strategy, visual identity, and a website or a packaging design or whatever it is. But you have to have your offer, and you have to talk about their problems and how you can solve their problems. So it's not about your services, it's about the solution.
So I'll add to that, because you talked about it. You also have to look like you're in that world. And I promise Kady did not land skincare packaging projects when she was doing $65 logos and her portfolio was filled with that. You have to create concept projects or design your own brand in a way that's going to resonate with the types of clients that you're trying to attract.
Exactly.
If you're trying to attract coffee shops, do not fill your portfolio filled with tech startup websites, because they're not going to attract the coffee shop brand projects.
Exactly. And it's best to have even just 4 to 6 portfolio or case studies, portfolio pieces, instead, like, versus having 20 or 30 that are all irrelevant. It's not about more. It's about like having that quality case studies that people will be attracted to.
Okay. What's point number 2?
I feel like I already said all of them in the positioning.
You said all of them in that? Oh, I see. Okay, so we're going to count. I'll let you off the hook. We're going to count.
So the positioning is like the top.
Your messaging, your portfolio, and your offer. I wrote them down. So those will be your 3 points. You're off the hook.
They're all under positioning.
One umbrella of positioning.
Yes.
It's so good. This was super fun, Kady. I can't wait to do more content with you in the future. We could, I know, talk for hours and hours. Hopefully I'll see you in Austin, Texas someday, or Vegas. I'll see you in Austin or Vegas someday.
Yes. Yep.
Check out Kady's podcast, the Profitable Graphic Designer Podcast. You've had a lot of awesome people on that podcast. You have Aventive Creative is your website, right?
Aventive Academy, yes.
Aventive Academy is her website. She has courses and other offers,
PDFs,
free content. You have
like
freewares, you have paid courses, you have coaching offers, you have all kinds of things to help other creatives. And I love that you're doing that because that's my world too. Isn't it so wonderful? Yeah. So wonderful.
I love it. I really I just enjoy it.
Yep, me too. Okay, Kady, thank you so much for being on this episode of What the Helvetica. And everybody, thank you for listening. Drop a comment, drop a review on your favorite podcast platform, and we'll see you next time on What the Helvetica.
Thank you so much for having me.